Here's Gilgeous-Alexander. McCollum staying with him. Spins, gets inside. Left-handed off the glass. Oh, what a sweet move.
Giddey, tough spot. Backdoor. What a pass. What a play. And J-Dub picks the pocket of Trae Young. He'll take it himself.
This is Dort. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested Podcast, coming to you live Sunday, November 26th, the post-Thanksgiving episode, the first holiday season episode of the Uncontested. I'm your host for the evening, Jacob Niffen. I have got the starting five with me tonight. We got JD Silva.
Fella.
Nick Crane.
Yo.
Taylor Peterson.
Holiday season means it's about time for Jacob's favorite sounder.
Holy Santa Claus shit.
Not that one. That's a great one.
We got Justin Peabody.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you guys for tuning in. If you are on the live stream, we love it. Interact with us. Drop your comments. Put your questions. We love the live stream community. If you are listening to the podcast version of this, thank you so much for downloading. We would love it if you would drop a 5-star rating, write a little review. And if you watch this on YouTube, hit that like button, leave a comment. Help us skew the algorithm. We would love that. So please, like, subscribe, follow along wherever you get your podcast from. We are also on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are everywhere. Lots of basketball to talk about, as we have not podcasted since, I believe, a week ago. Is that
Feels
correct?
like forever.
Crazy.
About a week ago.
That is how long it's been since we've podcasted. Before we start talking about the Thunder versus the Philadelphia 76ers game, we got a game of this or that tonight. We've got a really fun Around the Association segment. Do want to put out a little disclaimer before we start tonight. None of us live under rocks, contrary to popular belief. We are fully aware of the discourse surrounding Josh Giddey and the Oklahoma City Thunder. We have intentionally not commented on any social channels. This is our first podcast, so that's why we're making an announcement here that we will not be discussing, engaging in any sort of dialogue or diagnosing anything about the allegations against Josh Giddey, what that could mean for him, the team, any of that, until the league comes out with any sort of findings or the team comes out with any sort of findings. That would just be premature on our end. We do not want to contribute to the speculation of this scenario. Once there is an official word out, we will definitely comment, because that is what we do as a podcast that covers this team. In the past, we've talked about things like the I'm going blank on
Bridges, Myers Leonard.
Miles Bridges, Myers Leonard. I'm forgetting the guy from Houston that they traded for,
KPJ.
Kevin Porter Jr. We've commented on those types of things in the past, but those types of things were also very public with solid facts and police reports or different things. Right now, all we have is speculation. So we are choosing not to make those comments right now. And instead, we'll just focus on the basketball tonight until that changes. With that being said, gentlemen, the Thunder, the league leading 6-game win streak, snapped Saturday afternoon in a early 4 p.m. tip against the Philadelphia 76ers, 127-123. As we always do with these post games, Nick, what's the big theme of the game?
We finally got what happens when Chet faces Joel Embiid. And he looked like an all-star. So there's your answer, folks. Been waiting months for it, and now you got it.
That was mine as well, Nick. I think that had to be the narrative coming into the game is like, what does he look like? Now, granted, much like we've seen with other big kind of center matchups, it's not often Chet versus Embiid, much like it wasn't often Chet versus Jokic, but it's still a fun matchup to evaluate. And Chet put up some big numbers and did so with way less trips to the stripe than Embiid. Looked way more versatile in his game. I was watching it at my in-laws' house after Thanksgiving, and we were talking about like watching, a guy like Chet shooting motion compared to a guy like Embiid. Not that they're in the same stratosphere of players, like totally different archetypes and everything, but just seeing that versatility that Chet brings was just a really stark contrast to a guy like Embiid of what he's able to bring in his offensive bag. I know we've talked about it before, but it was just a really cool stage to see it showcased on Saturday.
And I'll add to that theme. This is a challenge to our listeners, viewers in the comments. I want you to name 10 centers. I'm not even talking about long-term. 10 centers today that are more impactful than Chet Holmgren in this league. I challenge you. I think you will struggle.
What about Walker Kessler, Nick?
That dude is regressed from last year. So that he better not be in your 10.
Shocker. Hey, kind of to that point, one thing that stood out to me as well is obviously we saw the Sixers go to Embiid early, and it was effective early, but we saw that trail off. So in kind of relation to like the Thunder style play and how they would match up against bigger lineups, such as the Sixers, and even coming up against the Timberwolves with I almost said Embiid again, with Karl Anthony Towns and with Gobert. I was looking at the rebound discrepancy. Thunder only lost that battle 49-38 by 11 rebounds. And we've seen them play much smaller teams than that and lose that rebound battle by a lot more. Kendrick Williams back in the lineup helps a ton, pretty significantly. But as a whole, I think the Thunder are really doing a better job of that. And that's something I've been kind of seeing as trending upwards here over the past handful of games, especially as the Thunder have been playing better. Something I'm really going to be monitoring. Mark wasn't talking specifically to rebounds when he was talking about this today, but mentioned this upcoming stretch of games being a real great test for this Thunder team. The rebounds is something I'm going to be keeping an eye on in this upcoming week.
That's something that I've noticed too, Taylor, is the first 10 games, that's all anybody wanted to talk about was rebounding. Haven't heard a lot about the rebounding conversation. Now, that's not to say like, oh my God, they're out rebounding every team they play by 20. But the rebounding issue hasn't really been talked about much recently because it hasn't been much of an issue.
Yeah.
It's funny how these early season trends kind of even themselves out.
Well, to be clear, it's still an issue. It's just not hindering winning games.
Yeah, it's not as glaring of an issue as it was. I think Chet has rebounded the ball, especially in traffic, much, much better. I think guys are definitely crashing down. I want to keep on the topic of Chet for a minute. Nick, you kind of brought up the Chet versus Embiid matchup early on in that game. I think I tweeted it from our uncontested Twitter account. I said Chet needs to shoot 10 plus threes against Embiid because Embiid doesn't want to step out of the paint. Yep. You guys know how many threes Chet shot in that game? 10.
10.
Do you know how many he made?
4.
A lot.
He made 5 of them. 5. I think that last second heave, whenever they were down 4, actually put him at 11 attempts on the night. So 5 of 11. I mean, there was a stretch there at the beginning of the third quarter. My God, it ended with the fast break where Giddey didn't hit Shea up ahead and wheeled around and then dropped the pass off to a streaking Chet who had just got a block on the other end and threw it down for the dunk and just, I mean, I think he had
a one-handed slam after that block.
Yeah, had like absurd. 7 straight or something like that. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Silva and I talked on the phone earlier. Silva, I don't know if the statement I made to you I should make public on a podcast. What do you think?
Yes. You know what? Just go for it. The holiday here, just let it rip.
Then you have to make the statement you replied to me with public as well.
What was that statement?
I remember it. If you don't remember it, I remember it.
Make a lot of sense.
I've told a handful of people. I know it's a small sample size. I know. Okay, I know.
Small sample size, Jacob.
Chet
We're
might
almost
be
20
like
games.
the Thunder's next KD, guys. Like
There was a lot of those.
if I
shades
told
last
you
night.
right now, that in 3 seasons from now, Shea is still on this team, but he's the second best player. Like, how hot of a take is that?
That's pretty hot.
Shay's been that good. But
That's
Shay's
pretty
incredible.
hot.
Silva, do you remember the statement you made to me whenever I told you that Chet might be the next KD?
I remember saying two things. I remember saying yes. He doesn't have the same like mobility to be like a self-creator like KD, but I said he's more like a child of Anthony Davis and Kevin Durant, which is a good thing to be.
I love that a lot. Hey,
The
like
offensive
seriously,
package looks like Kevin.
and when you think back like to that game winner, or I guess the game tire that it sent it to overtime against
Yeah.
Golden State, very KD-esque. And then obviously there's some of the shots and especially that stretch there in the third quarter that we saw from Chet. Some of those moves he's able to make, just the like one-legged Dirk / KD fadeaways, right? That KD took from Dirk. And the fact that Chet and KD, train with each other every summer, it's pretty apparent. And they're built very similar as well. It's impressive.
Can we get
Nick
a clarification? Are you saying he is the next KD in terms of the way they play or the impact and like where they sit amongst the league?
Why not both?
Jacob's thinking.
I don't think Chet's going to be top 10 all time. But if I told you that Chet is like at the end of his career, like 95% of Kevin Durant,
I'd be flabbergasted.
95%.
Kevin Durant is the purest scorer the game's maybe ever seen at 7
Yeah.
feet. The way he can, like, Chet could go to
Not-
dribbling
maybe not
school for the next
offensively.
10 years and never be able to dribble like KD does.
I think at this point in KD's career, at 21 years old, I think Chet's way more impactful of a defender than KD was.
For sure.
And at 21, Kevin Durant is Chet's what? 85% of 21-year-old Kevin Durant offensively?
That dude led the league in scoring, buddy. He was a scoring champ.
It's what what Chet sacrifices in mobility, because that's what I think of immediately. Is that he's not Kevin Durant.
But and I also think about, we talk so much about where rookies end up. Like I think about Amen Thompson and Ausar Thompson this year. Amen hasn't seen the floor, and I think Amen's every bit as good as Ausar is, and I'm extremely high on Ausar Thompson, his impact for the Pistons. That's just like one example. Kevin Durant came into the league as the guy for a rebuilding team, ran by Sam Presti nonetheless, and just was able to let it loose. And if we saw Chet go to, the Pistons is probably a bad example. Some like the Wizards, for example, like this past year, he's probably letting him fly like KD was, but he's not nearly as efficient or maybe even as impactful as we're seeing with the Thunder. So I don't know. That's where it gets a little tough, right?
My only pushback is KD was 21. With
Okay.
a scoring champ ring at 30 a game.
Yeah, I'm thinking more though
That's
that
true.
first 2 seasons of KD, not the third season 30 plus a game KD. So
You
that's
said
fair.
85% of 20.
Does that make Shea Russell Westbrook?
It's nuance. It's all nuance. But no, I think his offensive game, to like put a bow on this, is much further along than I thought it was entering the season.
100% agree with that.
The pull up 3 in Embiid's face right at the end of the game. Nick tweeted it. I read some of the quote retweets that Nick got on that, and some people are like, "You're just trying to gas Chet. He's nothing like KD." I'm like,
that move was.
"What are
exact-
you watching?"
was KD.
I watched KD hit that in Game 5 of his first year with the Golden State Warriors in the finals.
Yeah.
It's freaking identical.
That same shot.
It's the exact same shot.
Like, but he didn't dribble with his left and then pull up and have the weight. It's like, it's the same shot, dude. Could be a
It's-
hater.
It's annoying. Okay. Other takeaways from Thunder versus 76ers.
That Shea guy is still pretty good. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Zilla.
You go ahead. What I was gonna say is I didn't get to watch the game. I was at a friend's giving, so I was box score watching, watched some highlights, and I'm just grateful for all the Chet talk we just got because I was just watching from afar. That's all.
I was going for another low hanging fruit and just saying that Shea guy is pretty damn good, right? I think he had a pretty quiet, like 12 points there through the first quarter, and ends up with like 20 and 21 in the half.
Shea was 10 of 21 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, 10 of 10 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. I think one thing that really stood out to me was the discrepancy in free throw attempts. I know there was some intentional fouling there late, but Joel Embiid took nearly as many free throws as the entire OKC Thunder roster.
That's insane.
Foul merchant.
You want to be lying. Embiid took 21 free throws. The Thunder took 26. Embiid and Maxey combined for 32 free throw attempts. Now, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Shea got 10, right? Shea got 10. So, but I felt like that was like a massive difference in that game. When you look at the team stats from the game, field goal percentage, 46-44 in favor of the 76ers. 3-point percentage, 34-37 in favor of the Thunder. The Thunder hit 2 more threes. But free throws, the Thunder were outscored 16 points at the free throw line. 76ers went 37 of 45. Thunder went 21 of 26. The 76ers took 19 more free throws, made 16 more, and the Thunder lost by 4. I think that kind of is the difference in the game there. And that's not to say like, oh, the league has it rigged against the Thunder. Philly is a very big team that plays very physically. The Thunder did shoot a lot of threes. I felt like there was also, and I mean, Coach even said this post-game, if he could challenge every play, a lot of them would have withheld because the Thunder did foul them. But he said he felt like the Thunder were getting no calls on the other end, where he felt like they were getting fouled but weren't getting the whistle.
Agree.
And we've kind of talked about that for a long time this season.
Yep. I think that I don't know if we have another Daignault rant coming like we got last season, but it's definitely like the Thunder are being very intentional about their play style and driving to the basket when they're not shooting threes. And when you don't get that foul call, that makes that inherently like a not as good strategy, because that's a big part of being physical and driving to the basket. And so I think it'll be interesting to see if this continues. Like, does that play into how aggressive OKC is? Like, if they're just legitimately not going to get the whistle more often than not, do they stop driving as much? Like, I think that has to be a question that's discussed. I don't think it'll get to that point. I don't think it's been that dramatic yet. But if it did, like that's a huge hampering on the strategy that they employ as a team. And I think that Daignault wants to see every game on the floor.
It also hurt that Isaiah Joe kind of came back down to earth. Nick, any other themes?
That was actually where I wanted to go next, is a question to you guys. The theme was Isaiah Joe against his former team. Unfortunately, it was not Isaiah Joe. Though, caveat, Isaiah Joe to start this season has not been human. So maybe this is Isaiah Joe. But
maybe it was a regression to the mean.
The question I want to pose to you guys is, considering some of the close wins Oklahoma City's got over some pretty good teams this point in the season that required Isaiah Joe to go nuclear, and then you see in this game, like even if Isaiah Joe was like 40% from 3, they win this game. Like, does that concern you, knowing to win some of these Isaiah went nuclear and that's not sustainable? Like in terms of like how important he's had to be this season to get wins.
I'm going to say not necessarily. I mean, he has been insane. The Thunder have been an insane shooting team this year. No doubt about it. And that's helped them win a lot of games. But I don't think this game showed me like they have to have the crazy shooting and Isaiah to win them games. It's like the youngest starter for Philly is Tyrese Maxey at 23. That's older than 3 Thunder starters. Philly is just
crazy.
like so much more of a veteran team. They're one of the oldest teams in the league, whereas the Thunder are the second youngest. To me, that was more of this game than just simply like Isaiah shoots well, they win. Isaiah shoots bad, they lose.
It also no J-Dub. That's exactly what I was going to say. So
I was going to mention that. That was, yep. We're all on the same page.
We haven't touched on that, but like that's a big deal. And this team 100% hung with the Sixers without J-Dub in a game where, like you said, Nick, like Isaiah Joe didn't play great. Like it wasn't like they played their butt off to be in this game. They played a very good game. I was really impressed by their resiliency as well. Like that run late in the third, it felt like the Thunder maybe were on their way to getting blown out. The fact that they fought their way back into it and were right in it down the stretch. I was driving back home, and so I got the Matt Pinto experience, and got to listen to him recount that comeback. But I think, like, again, that resiliency to go toe to toe with a team like Philly after, I would say, the last kind of like measuring stick game they had was like Denver, right? Like another one where they've got Jokic. It's a big test for Chet. It's kind of a big see where you're at moment, and they kind of got worked a little bit, right? Like it was a pretty decisive victory. This could have been the same, but it wasn't. And that's an encouraging sign for this team. I think you see the record and where they're at. You want these types of games against teams you know are the upper echelon of the NBA to kind of gauge where this team is at developmentally. And the fact that they did it without J-Dub, I think is super impressive.
Yeah, I'm really curious what the next Nuggets matchup looks like, actually, Justin. You brought that up.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to look different. Like, it's
agreed.
I think Chet's just going to get way more shots. Like, not even being able to watch the game last night, something I could take away is that Chet's like, what, 50, 40, 90, maybe even more than 40 on his 3-point percentage still. My question was, okay, if you increase the volume, can he maintain that? And it sure as hell seems like he can handle that more. So if like Isaiah Joe regresses a little bit from 3 and you just need scoring from somewhere, Chet does seem capable of doing more of that. And I think J-Dub can probably do more scoring also. He doesn't take enough threes.
Fascinating you mentioned that, Silva. Like you said, like as somebody who wasn't able to watch the game, like going back and like looking at stats and watching highlights, because I'm watching that third quarter stretch where Chet's just completely taking over. He's taken out of the game, which isn't unusual there in that third quarter, but I'm expecting him to come right back in the fourth, like we've seen Daigneault do with some of these quarters, where he's kind of featured more in these second lineups. And he wasn't. He did come back in there towards I don't know, the last 5 minutes in the fourth, but it definitely felt like they kind of went away from Chet. And Daigneault actually had a really good quote about that. He said it wasn't necessarily Chet specifically, but they just weren't playing their brand of basketball, which I think is very fair. Shots weren't being generated. But I had that same feeling, like watching Chet, it feels like Chet's capable of so much more. You need to feed him more. But then I went back and actually looked at the box score. He played 32 minutes, only 4 minutes less than Shea at 36. He had 21 shot attempts, which was the same exact shot attempts that Shea had last night. And so, like, you give him more, and that kind of seems asinine, like, when you're looking at that box score. But at the same time, it feels like he's capable of so much more. They should have gone to him more. I just find that extremely, interesting to me when I was feeling that during the game, but then I actually went back and looked at the box score. I was curious if you guys kind of had that similar reaction. And so, it kind of seems like you did, like, going back and looking at the game.
Yeah. And this is a question for all you guys. Was Chet going off? Was a part of that because he played next to another big for an extended period of time for what I think is the first time this season?
I think, and Justin and Nick, I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this as well. I thought the two big lineup worked out actually pretty well. Like seeing Chet not be the center, especially offensively, like worked out really, really well, especially when you have a guy who can pass like Jay Will. And Jay Will came in and had the quarter of his life.
Yeah,
he had 8 points in the first quarter, which was a season high in a game. He splashed 2 threes, and then I believe Nick was watching the game. I know Justin said you were listening, but he had a blow by on Embiid and hit like one of the dirtiest jellies I've ever seen. Like it was gross. That man went up and it was.
He doesn't shoot layups like a big. He shoots layups like a guard.
Yeah.
It's strange. In a good way.
It changed your opinion on the two big lineups at all?
I love it. I want to see more.
I think we might see more Tuesday night.
I've been hoping for it. Like, I know we've talked about this before, but like I've wanted to see it. I think it's worth experimenting. And I like the way Daigneault answered a question about it. I don't remember his exact wording, but something along the lines of like, we want to basically exhaust all our options and see what we have. I feel like they got a good look, right? They got a good sample of Chet at center. I'm ready for kind of like an extended run. Like, give me 10 to 15 games of Chet at the 4, and let me see what that looks like, and have something to compare it against with what we've seen with him playing the 5.
Yeah, I think long term, it's only solidified the fact that Oklahoma City will have a real 4 next to Chet. Like, I don't think they're going to go draft a Zach Edey archetype to play 5 and Chet play 4. But I do think this has further solidified my thought process of J-Dub's awesome, and he can play 4. But to really maximize Chet, you need a connecting, high IQ, floor spacing, but also really physical 4. Like, the archetype would be, this guy is probably too small to play a 5, but he's strong enough. But he's also like this jumbo 4 that can shoot it and connect. Like, that is the guy that fits perfect next to Chet. And as good as J Will's been in summer league and in early season, like we saw the other night, like, imagine a guy that's like a lottery talent with that archetype playing next to Chet. Like, that is the vision.
By God, is that Scotty Barnes music?
That would be insane. Jarris Walker.
That's what that's what I thought Jacob was gonna say.
Yep.
Who is literally rotting on the bench in Indiana.
I
A team
know.
that can't play a lick of defense is just putting their best defender as the 15th man. God, anyways, we'll move on. This is the Thunder podcast.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there with. I think Chet at 5 is the future, but I think having a 6'9", 240, 250 pound dude who can do the things that Thunder want to do offensively just makes all the sense in the world. All the sense in the world.
Do you think that's scheduled? Do you think Mark had on a whiteboard like no double big lineup until this date?
He said that they like knew in this game they wanted to run it. Yeah. And it would not surprise me at all if they run it extended on Tuesday night. Like, if you told me that Dub will not be available Tuesday, which, knock on wood, hopefully he is. I know he went through parts of practice today. If Dub is not available Tuesday, the spot starter all season has been Cason. If somebody is out, wouldn't shock me if J Will gets the start Tuesday. If it's Shea, Dort, Josh, J Will, Chet, to match that 2 big lineup of Minnesota, would not shock me in the slightest. Let's take our first break of the night. On the other side, we are going to play a game of Take It or Leave It. We are also going to update you on the uncontested predictions, let you know who's in the lead. And it's time to shake it up. We're changing the rules a bit. We'll talk about all of that on the other side. We will be right back. And we are back. You know, I was thinking about this today, guys. Nick didn't get to witness this, but every time we go to a break, we have to like take a note of the time when we go to the break so we can go back in and insert the advertisements. And when we did the live show at Bar K, my guy JD had drank so much that he needed somewhere to take the notes, and he just did it in his calculator. Incredible stuff.
Wait, can you clarify? He did it in his
so like
calculator.
we just took a break at 28:30.
Yeah, so I like
right. So he did.
I thought you were saying Silva carries around a calculator.
No, that'd be incredible.
That would have been much better.
Rolls it up in his shirt sleeve.
Got it.
Gets beat up after school every day. It is time for everyone's favorite. Take it or leave it. I figured this would be a nice game to do a little check-in on how we are feeling about some themes with this team. I have 4 take it or leave it's that are related to the OKC bench and 4 that are related to the OKC starters. That's 8 total for those of you who are not great at math.
Thank you.
That is, if you are really not great at math, that is 2 for each of these guys. Let's start with the bench. Taylor, you are up first. Oh, if you've never listened to the Uncontested before, Take It or Leave It is the easiest game in the world. I give a statement. These guys say they take it, meaning they believe that statement. They tell us why. Or they leave it thinking that it's not real or it's not going to happen. Again, explain why. Taylor, take it or leave it. Cason Wallace and Isaiah Joe will be the only two bench players to average over 20 minutes a game this season. As of right now, 16 games in, that statement is true. They are the only two bench players playing 20 plus minutes. Will that be the case at the end of this season?
I am taking it because of the depth of this team and the amount of players that will play. I see that really difficult to tighten up the lineup that much where another player is going to come off the bench with 20 minutes. For comparison's sake, I understand that they've kind of taken a step up from last season. But looking at last season's lineups, Kendrick Williams played more than 20 minutes off the bench in 53 games. Poku played 20.6 minutes in only 34 games because of that injury. Isaiah Joe was right around 19, playing the majority of games at 73. GRE was obviously hurt, played around 18. Jay Will was right around 18 with about 50 games. And Wiggins, 18 minutes per game with about 70 games played. So I think we'll see something similar to that. We're seeing a lot of guys like Wiggins. We even saw Bertans come in yesterday against the Sixers. I think we'll see those lineups continue to change, especially when you add another guy into the lineup like J-Dub. It's going to be really hard for some players like that to come off the bench and get more than 20 minutes per game. So I'm taking this one.
I like it. Justin, you are next. Take it or leave it. Davis, also known as David Bertans, will appear in 40% or less of the Thunder games this season. A little bit of context on this one. His contract for next season becomes fully guaranteed if he plays over 70. So far, out of 16 possible games, Bertans has played 5. That's about 30%. So I put the number at 40%. Take it or leave it.
I am leaving this. And I think the reason is not because he's only played 30% thus far, but I think it's because of his role and his usage thus far. Like we know the rule in his contract, right? We know where that stands. The most minutes he's played in a game is 13. And that was like one of the first games of the season. I'm not seeing him getting like a really high usage at any point in the season. And maybe that's premature, but I would have felt like given what Daigneault is willing to do in terms of shaking up the lineup, I figured we would at least have one of those by now, right? Where he gets like 20 something minutes a game, gets up 5, 6, 3 attempts, something like that to really kind of see what Davis can do in this offense. I just get the sense that it's not coming. And because of that, I don't know that his percentage is going to go much higher than where it currently stands. Like I could see it being about 30% at the end of the season.
Very good. Nick, you are up next. Take it or leave it. Ousmane Dieng will play in more games than Vasilije Micic this season. For record, Ousmane Dieng, with a G League stint, has played in 11 games. Micic has only played in 8 so far.
I'm going to leave it. I think it'll be very close as it is today. I don't know. I just feel like, let me precursor this. I don't think they're intentionally not playing Vasa as like this secret weapon that's going to come out of nowhere. But I do think there is a strategy where like this guy's body has never played an 82 game season, and it's going to take a little bit, like endurance wise. I think in like January, February, we're going to see a lot more of him on the court.
And I also like it's not like Ous is coming in like he's playing 5 minutes each quarter. He's getting like these flashes of play like in the first half and then isn't touching the floor again. They're certainly still trying to develop him and balancing that development to Nick's point, getting Vasa like up to speed and back in the mix. I'm kind of with Nick here. I could see Vava getting a lot of burn in the second stretch of the season.
So Ousmane Dieng played his first game in like 4 or 5 against the 76ers. And a lot of people talked about how he played a good game, made good passes. I just felt like he was so incredibly passive. Was getting the ball deep in the paint and like scared to look at the basket. Like
had shots he should have taken, but made the extra pass, which is great. But
if that guy had the Chet Holmgren mentality, I think he'd be so much better.
I'm a little worried.
Even
a little worried about this.
He's like, I don't know. Right now, Jang's got like that Pomeranian in him. It's like a little like pocket dog.
Really
I don't
small.
know, man. Pomeranians can
arf.
be vicious.
That's true.
Someone, when we were at the game last week, someone asked, "Do you think Vasilier can dunk?" And I said no because of the built-up cigar smoke and alcohol. He got it.
Probably accurate. Silva,
can
you get
poke
the last bench. Take it or leave it. The Thunder bench will end the season top 5 in net rating amongst all league benches. They are currently number 1 in the league in bench net rating.
I'm gonna have to leave that one. Top 5 just feels insane to lock in. I feel like them being first right now is a kind of a product of the ridiculous shooting splits of guys like Cason and Isaiah Joe. I think Kenrich contributes like regularly to that success from the bench, but no, I think the current net rating is due to some teams' benches underperforming and the Thunder's like way overperforming. I wouldn't be surprised if they were, top 8, 9, but top 5 is a little scary to lock in.
So
I think you're
5
right.
is too small of a number for you. You're going 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Silva. But I just want to present one small counterpoint and get your guys' thoughts. J-Dub comes back into the lineup. That means guys like Isaiah Joe, and it's been Cason Wallace the whole time, but Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, those guys go back to the bench and are playing together again in a bench unit. Does that change your guys' thoughts at all?
I'm going to be interested to see where Isaiah settles in at.
Yeah.
Because Saturday definitely felt like a regression to the mean. Because the beginning of the season, he's been the best 3-point shooting player
in
the NBA.
Right.
Cason's got to regress too.
Yeah.
Hey, you watch your damn mouth, all right? Okay, let's do another round of take it or leave it. But this time we're going to focus more on the starters. So we'll go reverse order. We'll snake draft this bad boy. JD.
Whoa.
Coming right back to you. Lou Dort's efficiency in the first 10 games was a mirage. Take it or leave it. I have some stats for you before you answer.
Thank you.
Okay. When you look at Lou Dort for this season, all 16 games, 46% from the field, 43% from 3, 10.7 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at his last 6, so you take away the first 10 games, and you look at the most recent 6, 35% from the field, 30% from 3, 5.5 points per game.
Okay. So this one's kind of I'm gonna try and like commit to one way or another. I think I'm going to leave this one because I don't think it's a total mirage. I think it's more of an oasis situation. The mirage is real in the desert that we're seeing from afar. I don't think he's going to be a 43% 3-point shooter, but I do think his shot selection has improved a lot because of guys like Chet showing up and people like, Cason, J-Dub, and so on. So I think he's going to maintain the shot selection, just be good at like corner 3-point shooting and continue that. And I think he's going to continue to polish his game and end up, between 35 and 37, I hope. I think that'd be awesome for Lou Dort. Yeah, so I'll leave it.
So you clarify. So you think the first 10 games were not a mirage, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
I think he's saying like they're like a glimpse into what Dort could be.
Okay.
Yeah, it's mostly a real. It was mostly real. He's not 43% from 3, but he's
You're saying he's not 30% either. He falls somewhere in the middle.
right, somewhere in the middle.
I'm with you. Okay.
I like that. Nick, you get a fun one. Take it or leave it. OKC will have a player join the 50-40-90 club this season. Let me give you and the listeners some stats before you answer. Currently, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is 53.5. That's absurd. That is absurd. 36.5, 93.5. If you don't know, 50-40-90 is 50% from the field, 40% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. So Shai is 53, 36, 94. Chet Holmgren is 56, 44-88. Stupid.
It's wild to have two guys like that.
J-Dub is 52-37-88. And Isaiah Joe is 46-49-82.
49 from 3.
After that bad Philly game.
And that's why that should be a 2-point, 3-point free throw, not a field goal 3-point free throw. I regress. Keep going.
Those are the closest guys and the guys that have the most realistic chance. So I wanted to put those numbers out there. Nick, take it or leave it. The Thunder will have a 50-40-90 player this season.
I'm leaving it hard.
Okay.
I don't think there's a chance, to be honest with you.
What do you mean by that?
I think
hard isn't they don't flirt with it?
No. I think Chet will be the closest, but I don't believe Chet's a 90% free throw shooter. Like, I think that's where he gets knocked. I don't think Shea's going to be a 40% 3-point shooter. I don't think Dub and Isaiah Joe by New Year's Eve are even close to the mark. So I'm gonna leave it.
I agree with you. I was just curious what you meant by hard.
Which of those four do you think are the closest come season's end?
Chet, for sure. But I think it's the free throws that are not going to be there.
You say you're going Chet over SGA.
Yeah,
I was kind of thinking
he's not going to sniff 40 from 3. His attempts are way too difficult.
I'm a little not worried. I just kind of think that Chet may not. He'll be right under like 40% from 3 on higher attempts, which I think is a good thing.
Be incredible if that happens.
Right. That's kind of.
I would not be worried about that.
Right.
Yeah, he's averaging 22 points a game, but shooting like 38%. Okay,
like 50-40-90 was like KD in his MVP year before, like a couple seasons before he left OKC.
Yeah, right.
And for reference, Chet was 75% from the free throw line in college. Was not good in summer league, although his legs weren't underneath him. He was still getting back to full shape. But like, I just don't think today he's a 90% free throw shooter.
What are Cason splits?
Oh, that's a good question.
100.
Cason is 61, 54, 100.
That's insane.
Maybe Cason will get there.
He's a lock.
Lock it in. How many 50-40-90s have there been in league history? Isn't like under 20?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's under 20.
It's hard.
Crazy.
It's very difficult to do. Shea's field goal percentage, considering the shots that he takes, is just stupid. It's ridiculous. Justin, you're up next. Oh, I actually wanted to ask Nick a follow-up. By the end of their careers, will any of them get a 50-40-90 season?
That's tough.
I mean, I think statistically, I should answer yes. When you're giving me 5 players.
4.
Statistically, you say yes when it's only been done like 15 times in the history of the NBA?
League's different now. There's a record broken every night.
Wow.
I mean, I think
I would play the odds here and say no.
I think Chet has a chance if he can improve as a free throw shooter. I don't think Shea will ever be a 40% 3-point shooter unless he just takes catch and shoot. Maybe that's his role in 3 years if Chet's the best player on the team and they've drafted another guy and Shea's having to do less isolation. He's doing catch and shoot threes. Maybe.
What a future.
What a future that would be. I don't know. I mean, like, I'll say yes. I've been a pessimist on the entire topic, so we'll go yes here.
We'll love it. Justin, take it or leave it. Coach Mark Daignault will make a non-injury related starting lineup change this season.
I'm taking that. I think.
Ooh.
I don't think that's spicy.
He's going to cut the slam cover in year 1?
I think
slam cover might have cut itself, but I digress.
I think that it is in Mark's like DNA to do so. It's what he's done up to this point in his career. I think those decisions get harder and less frequent than they used to be, but it still feels like a Mark type move. And if you look at like the starting lineups last year, he went through big stretches where he didn't touch it at all. And then he'd mess around with it a little bit. And I think I would not be surprised based off everything we just talked about with the two bigs to see a stretch of two big starters, to see a stretch where maybe Dub starts at the 2 and Dort comes off the bench. And you see what that looks like. I'm not saying it's permanent, and I'm not saying it's like the future, but I'm saying I would not be shocked at all to see an experiment with it.
It's interesting to me because last year the team, like, it was very clearly a let's just mess around and see what we got. And this year, that starting 5, like, that feels like the 5. And so it feels like making a change this year is a more significant move than in any year since.
Like, weren't you saying you think it could be? Well, I guess you were saying if Dub isn't playing, you think Jay Will could get the nod on Tuesday.
Correct.
Okay, that's fair. I could see it happening in certain matchups with a fully healthy roster.
Okay, maybe we're
That's
interpreting the take it or leave it differently. Like you're saying,
That's
like maybe
fun, though.
Are you arguing maybe it's a one-off? Because I'm thinking like it's like we're making a change. This guy will now come off the bench for the rest of the season, and this dude is starting.
That is not how I interpreted the question.
Okay.
Maybe not a one-off, maybe a 2 or a 5 or something like that. Like, I could see them experimenting a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think someone's getting like demoted, to use that like verbiage of like, somebody's not getting like, well, your time in the starting lineup's up. Better get used to the bench, buddy. I don't think I would leave that if that was the question.
All right. Last, take it or leave it. This one's not really starters, but just team-wide for Taylor. Take it or leave it. OKC will finish outside the top 10 in the league in free throw attempts this season. For the record, Taylor and listeners, the Thunder are currently 13th in the league in free throw attempts per game. They take 23.3. They would have to get up to 23.9 to get in 10th place. Last season, to my surprise, the Thunder were, I have it right here, hold on.
15th.
Tied for 14th, 15th in the league at 23.7. So a very similar number to last season. Take it or leave it, the Thunder are outside the top 10 on free throw attempts per game at the end of the year.
So when you said we were in the snake draft, that gave me a little time to do a little homework, and that's why I pulled up where they were last season. And I think that's important only because they also got off to a slow start last season in regards to their foul calls, and we have already mentioned this season about Dagnall's kind of a mini rant he went on after one of those games where it was just absolutely ridiculous. And it kind of slowly started to correct itself throughout the rest of the season, but they still were only, halfway, ranked half in the league in regards to free throw attempts. So for that reason, and based off what we've seen already this season, I'm going to go ahead and take it. I do not see them getting in that top 10 in free throw attempts. It's just going to be really tough for them. The style of basketball they play, the kind of players that they have, I don't see it happening. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing either. It doesn't mean that the league's out to get them, like so many fan accounts like to think. It's just, like I said, the style of play, the Thunder are going to compensate for that elsewhere. And we've kind of have already seen that with Shea in his mid-range game here over the past, 5-6 games. So I'm taking it.
I like it. Gentlemen, another successful game of take it or leave it. Before we go to round the association, we have to update the fans on the uncontested weekly predictions. Justin, I believe you cooked up a little something in the lab for us.
I hated it, every minute of it.
Will you, for the listeners who are not watching, will you give them a rundown of this?
No, I will not. Three-way tie for first in the current standings with 7 points apiece. In our weekly predictions, we have Jacob Niffen, Taylor Peterson, and JD Silva sitting in fourth with 5 points, Nick Crane. And at the bottom with 3 points is myself. I took a big swing. I was the only person to predict a Philly win, and I was screaming at Matt Pinto in my car to try to make up some ground in these standings. But alas, here we are.
I love it. To remind the listeners of what the predictions game results in at the end of the season. You get a point for every game you predict correctly. If you do not predict a game correctly, you don't lose any points. It's just you don't get anything. At the end of the season, whoever has the highest amount of points gets treated one day in Vegas at Summer League. Everyone else has to buy their food, their Summer League ticket, merch, all that stuff. We all split the cost. So if Nick wins, Nick gets spoiled one day in Vegas. I think we should make the rule now. No gambling, no alcohol involved in that.
What?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
For each game that we predict wrong at the end of the season, that person owes that much money to an uncontested collection. So if Justin predicts 20 games wrong, Taylor predicts 30 games wrong, JD predicts 60 games wrong, that's how much money each of them owe to the pool.
It'd be a miracle turnaround by myself.
We are going to take that money.
Don't call it a comeback.
Let's say all 5 of us combined have to pay $200 to the pool. We're then going to crowdsource and see if our listeners will match the $200, and all $400 will go to a charity to be decided at a later date. Also, I changed up the rules. Actually, JD gave me the idea to change up the rules to make it a little more interesting. So now we have to make a lock of the week. This is a game that you're super confident in. Your lock, if you get it right, gets you 2 points instead of 1. But if you get it wrong, instead of just like getting 0 points, you get -2 points.
Oof.
Yeah,
so it could throw you through a loop.
What happens if I go negative?
Wait, can you repeat that one more time?
Yes. A normal win gets you 1 point.
Yep.
If you get a prediction wrong, it's just nothing happens.
Okay.
But your lock, if you get your lock correct, it's 2 points. If you get your lock wrong, it's -2 points.
Can we call it something besides a lock? Can we call it like a money ball or
money ball? I like it.
Yeah, cha-ching.
What I don't want
Cha-ching,
is
it's under money ball. There you go.
a lock. A lock feels like a game that you're like, oh, this is a guarantee. Those games don't exist in weeks like this. If you look at the schedule coming up. So money ball is just like what you think is.
It is your hot take money ball.
Okay.
So let's get our predictions for the week. You guys have already sent these to me, but you all do not know each other's answers, correct? You haven't shared. We're now sending them in so that way we avoid like the mob mentality of, oh, everyone else said win. I'm going to say win as well. First game up this week, we have at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Just so we're all aware, the Timberwolves are currently 11-4, number 1. Actually, I think they won today, so 12-4. Number 1 in the West. Jaden McDaniels will be out. That's a pretty big omission for them.
Shade
JD.
defender.
Yep. JD, what do you got Tuesday night against the Wolves?
I have a loss.
You also have to tell us whenever your lock comes up, whenever your money ball comes up, you have to tell us it's your money ball. Okay. Nick, Tuesday night against the Wolves.
Gosh, you're making us remember what we told you a couple hours ago.
I was scrambling to open up our group chat to see what.
I thought Jacob was going to read them off.
Yeah, I had this one as a loss.
Okay, Justin.
I also have a loss.
Taylor.
I mean, just to take us home here on the pessimism, I had it as a loss, and this was my money ball, baby. Locking in that loss.
Wow.
Wait, you can lock losses?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, you can.
Oh,
I'm not locking in my win against the Lakers coming up.
Oh, okay,
That's a
that
tough
changes.
one.
That's a wrinkle in the rule you didn't explain.
I agree with you,
I'm-
Nick.
I'm hedging my bets here, Nick. That's a good, better does.
Taylor Sunshine Pumper Peterson locking in a loss was a
Yes.
plot twist I didn't see coming.
Same.
I
That's what Jacob
also
said,
have
too.
a loss Tuesday night. Thursday, they come back home and play the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers will be without Gabe Vincent and Rui Hachimura. LeBron and AD are both questionable day-to-day. So is Cam Reddish, but I don't think Cam Reddish merits mentioning V's day to day because he doesn't really
Vincent, but you won't mention Cam Reddish, who's been actually good this year.
matter. Oh well,
Cam's been good.
Cam Reddish is just
Clutch.
Anyways,
Cam.
JD.
That's what they're calling him.
Thursday against the Lakers. What do you got?
That's gonna be an L.
Oh, JD's got 2 L's. All right, Nick, what do you got Thursday against the Lakers?
W.
Justin,
Give me that W.
Taylor.
I had that as well, but was not confident enough to make that my lock or my money ball.
Gentlemen, the win Thursday is my money ball of the week.
There we go.
Got it.
So now I need a root for an L. I mean, this is tough.
Maybe
now.
so.
Yeah. Gross.
Saturday, the Thunder play down in Nick and Justin's neck of the woods against the Dallas Mavericks. JD, what do you got Saturday night?
That's a
in
W.
the Big D.
And it's a money ball W.
Ooh,
That
I
was
like it. Nick, what do you got?
I'll quick commentary. I will be at that game, and I will be attending that shortly after Oklahoma State is in the Big 12 championship, also in Dallas.
Ooh.
Sorry, Sooners, but that's
You
a
got a
money
double
ball
day.
win.
That's gonna be a busy day
That's
for you.
really cool. Yeah.
That's a money ball win over the Mavs, where I don't know if Luka has a broken finger or not, but the fact that it's even being considered as broken potentially, and like need to get back to Dallas to do more
That's a good
tests,
point.
maybe it's a game you steal.
Nick, are you
Yeah, I
covering
forgot to
that one, or are
mention
you just
Maxi
attending?
Kleber is out.
Covered.
Kleba,
Awesome. That's gonna
Kleber,
be
Kleba.
Derek Lively, and Luka Doncic day to day.
I want Lively to
Justin.
play.
Maxi Kleber.
I pulled the Taylor.
I also have this as a win and my money ball. So that makes three money ball wins.
That's the money ball sounder.
That
I
is
like
not a
that.
money
That's
ball
sick.
sounder.
I love that.
That doesn't
I love
feel
that.
right.
Nick and I liked it.
Yes.
I'm all for a money ball sounder, but that ain't it. Try again, JD. Play something different. Also, don't think that's
Plus workshop.
money ball. We'll
Right,
have to
right.
workshop it.
Be like a cash sounder. Cha-ching.
Taylor, what do you got Saturday night in Big D?
I have an L. I think it's going to be a really close game. I really do. But Kyrie and Luka have been awesome. Although I did not take into consideration Nick's point. I did see that picture of Luka in his post game availability here yesterday, I believe, where he did have like a splint thing on his hand. So if I could play into it, my guess is Luka plays. He looks awesome. It's going to be a really fun game either way. But I'm going with the L.
Luka's got a mustache now.
He does.
He
As
looks,
does Poku.
he looks like a sophomore.
As does Poku.
Have you guys seen the prequels to Yellowstone?
I haven't seen
Never
them, but I
seen
know exactly what you're
Yellowstone.
talking about.
Oh, you guys.
I've kind of given up on the Yellowstone
1781.
franchise.
1896.
Yeah, like
1434.
how many of the same shows can we make over and over?
I'm just saying numbers.
Well-
I don't know if any of those
So
are
we get
accurate.
Harrison
I don't know the
Ford,
number. Those sound accurate.
take-
But while we're on the topic of shows, I've been wanting to say this. Aang is him. Thank you guys for the show recommendation.
We've got Nick in on Avatar.
It's taken
Last
a while,
Airbender.
but we've got Nick
Got
bought
there.
in. I am going a win in Dallas Saturday night. Very good. We will update the standings next Sunday night. It's time for a trip around the association. Before we get there, though, we're going to take our last break of the night. Make sure, before we go to this break, that you check out all of our merch online at cottonbureau.com. Just search the Uncontested Podcast. Tons of awesome designs and new hats,
New hats.
courtesy of our guy,
They're
Justin.
awesome.
So if you need some unique and awesome Thunder gear for the holiday season, need to add it to a wish list, or need to buy something for that Thunder fan in your life, hit up cottonbureau.com, search the Uncontested Podcast, get something cool, because we got a lot of awesome stuff in that store. We'll be right back. And we are back. JD, it's time to go around the association.
I don't even know where you're sitting at. Like.
I like that when that sounder plays, Nick bobs his head like he's in the studio with Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar, like this hard beats playing, and really it's just the Kawhi NBA on NBC.
So good.
Came up with a really fun idea, I think, for around the association tonight. We're going to call this one Looking in the Mirror. You guys are going to give us a team, and we're going to say when they look in the mirror, so if it's a Western Conference team, they're looking in the mirror to the Eastern Conference. They're an East Conference team. They're looking in the mirror to the Western Conference. Who do they see? Who is their similarity across the conference? Anyone want to kick us off?
I can go first. Let me look into the mirror. Wow.
See, that's a perfect sounder.
I know.
Yeah, that sounds
Silva,
like Sailor Moon.
I also think I want to point this out. Silva has been the strongest user of the purple glass ball emoji, like the little.
You're right.
Yeah,
Good emoji.
I think that emoji describes you these days.
Yeah,
I agree.
looking into the future.
Now,
Yeah.
just for the listeners' knowledge, JD told us pre-pod that he was going to piss off some fan bases tonight. So
Yeah.
I am looking forward to this. Silva, who is looking into the mirror?
I think the Houston Rockets are looking into the mirror.
Oh,
Looking into-
who is looking back at the Rockets?
I think the Atlanta Hawks are looking back at the Rockets because they are two franchises that love to use their assets to finish between the 6th and 4th seed for years and years on end.
I actually really like that.
I think 4 is a little high. I go like 6 through 10. That's just me. That's interesting. I like that one.
Only difference is the Hawks don't have the second coming of Jesus and
You're right.
Turkey Jesus and Alfred and Schengen.
Turkey Jesus.
Turkey Jesus? Turkish.
Happy
Jesus.
Thanksgiving.
Jesus.
I think I
Jesus.
put him in the smoker Thursday for 3 hours.
What dish did you bring for Thanksgiving, Taylor? Turkey Jesus.
Taylor went to cut the turkey and it came back to life.
He rose from the grave.
Oh my goodness.
And on the third day, Schengen had a triple double.
For that reason.
And that's been your blasphemy take of the week.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to take a look in the mirror?
I'll take a look in the mirror.
All right, Nick, who is looking in the mirror?
Hold on. Okay.
Detroit is looking in the mirror.
Who do they see in the
awesome.
Western Conference?
They see the San Antonio Spurs, and it makes them feel better that they're not the only team that can't win a game.
Okay.
I don't get it for either side, like why it's so hard to win. Like we're not even at the point of the season where you're playing nobodies and like benching good players like we've seen in the past from quote unquote taking teams. Like we're in the point of the season where you're like, let's give it a go, see what we look like. The Spurs after tonight, I think have lost 13 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. The Pistons have won 2 games all year, like 4 dating back to the James Wiseman trade last year. I don't get it. Like, especially the Pistons on paper, like for the season, if you had said, hey, you can be an NBA GM and you can take over any roster and draft picks and like what you feel like you could do a lot with. The Pistons, like they wouldn't be number 1, but like they'd be top 15 of like a team where I'm like looking at the roster. I'm like, you know what? They've got Asar and Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham and Beef Stew and Jalen Durt. I'm like, draft picks, like they've got what you want. And they've also got vets and they can't win. I don't
Joe
get it.
Harris.
It's crazy.
They've had
It's
injuries, but agreed completely. Agreed 100%.
It's almost like it's a cultural thing. I don't know.
Which is weird because it's a Presty tree.
Yeah.
ownership.
I don't know.
Maybe he was better as an
crazy.
assistant.
Asar is great, though. He is awesome. Who else wants to take a peek in the mirror?
I've got one.
All right. Taylor. Who is looking in the mirror?
Now, I just want to preface this saying that whenever I saw the segment, I was pretty certain I knew what inspired this. And so I'm not going to take those 2 teams because, Jacob, I think you need to finish this with the 2 teams I'm thinking of, which involve the OKC Thunder. But the 2 that I have here are 2 really interesting teams in the Utah Jazz in the West
Okay. When the Jazz look in the mirror, Taylor, who do they see?
I think they see the Brooklyn Nets. These are two teams that kind of find themselves. Okay, good. These are two teams that kind of find themselves in the midst of a very competitive Eastern and Western Conference. They have really talented young players. Neither are willing to bottom out, though. I don't know. It's just really fascinating. They kind of find themselves at crossroads, and they kind of seem stuck in the middle. I think one way or the other, they're going to need to make a move to either, especially in the Jazz's case, I think they really would, benefit from letting some of these younger guys get some of these minutes, and not necessarily guys like trading for John Collins, for example. And the Nets, I understand they're in a bigger market, and Bridges is amazing. But again, what is the direction there? I think both these teams are really kind of looking for a direction. I'm curious where they both end up at the end of the season.
I thought about this one a lot too, Taylor. Both teams have a guy that's an all-star or borderline all-star who's a really, really good player. They both have offensively limited, high defensive upside bigs. They both are strapped with a lot of assets that they could go do some stuff with.
They're both top 5 in rebounds per game so far this season, which is kind of interesting.
They're both kind of tearing down, but they haven't committed to tearing down, but they haven't committed to winning, and they're kind of stuck in mediocrity.
They both have the assets to do something if something comes across, but not the assets like the Thunder and the Thunder and the Pelicans. That's it is. It's pretty similar.
That's good. I like that comparison. JD, did you have another one?
Yes.
Justin, do you have one?
I do.
Oh, okay. We're gonna go Justin first.
Nice.
I am.
Wait. There we go. Justin, who's looking in the mirror?
We have the Golden State Warriors looking in the mirror.
Ooh, and who do they see on the other side?
They see the Miami Heat.
Oh, that's so good.
I thought about this one. I like it, Justin.
They're both very proud of their culture. Some so much so they put it on their court. Some just say they're light years ahead. I think both are struggling to pass the baton. I think they're both kind of stuck in limbo currently. They have some great talent, and they have some really weird pieces. And their top talent, like Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, can take you places, right? That can do a lot for you by themselves. But is it enough to do anything meaningful anymore? I don't think it is. And I think these teams are going to have to make some sort of decision about what their trajectory looks like in the next couple years.
I like that. Did you see that Draymond Green is back and said he doesn't regret a thing, and he's always going to have his teammates back, which is funny because he did absolutely nothing that had Klay Thompson's back.
He had someone else's back under his forearm.
I can't wait for the next time when he tries to smuggling a knife in his waistband onto the court or something. That just seems like a Draymond thing. JD, who's looking in the mirror?
Also, you only get the sounder one time, so that's it. Don't ask.
No more sounder.
I'm gonna go with the Phoenix Suns.
Okay, who do they see on their Eastern Conference side?
They see the Milwaukee Bucks, I think.
This one makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they're both very top heavy. You have your aging star and your stars in their prime: Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Giannis, and Dame. And then you have a roster full of questions and guys on really cheap contracts. They need Malik Beasley to guard the best perimeter player currently, which is strange. Or Grayson Allen for the Suns. He's plays a huge role.
Cruz.
They both have injured third options with Chris Middleton and Brad Beal. The list goes on.
It's very similar. It's kind of creepy.
I like that one, Silva, a lot.
Anyone else have any others?
Take us home, Jacob. Give us the one that you have.
I'll give my big one, but before I do, just some that I think are interesting that I couldn't think of comps for. I'm interested if you guys have one.
Yeah.
Who do the Timberwolves see?
I thought a lot about that one. Thought about the Pacers maybe, but it's not quite there.
Pacers see the Mavs where you don't know what defense is.
Yeah, so I actually thought about using that one, Pacer and Mavs. So it was one I thought about.
Anyone have a Timberwolves one?
I really struggle with Timberwolves.
Did you say Philly?
Yeah.
Really? There's not a team in the East that's
Yeah.
Cavs maybe kind of too big, so
But
super
the Cavs
dynamic
are, like,
guard, but
The
then
Cavs
guys
Cavs
have been
haven't
playing
been
well.
good. I
Right.
do. If we're gonna do Cavs, I think it's Cavs and Pelicans, where it's like both teams should be good, but I wouldn't be shocked if like their star asks out or they implode in the next 365 days, because like Donovan Mitchell sounds like he kind of wants to be somewhere else. And
Agreed.
Zion Williamson, the leash is getting shorter and he looks frustrated. So like
Mhm.
both
Can't
those
remember-
teams could be really good, but will they be in a year? I don't know.
I don't think I got to use that non-Thunder bet, but I think I had a Donovan Mitchell will be a New York Knick. I don't think we got to that one. I agree. I'm with. That's a good comparison, Nick.
That's another team I was going to ask. Who do the Knicks see whenever they look into the mirror?
It's like kind of like a Clippers isn't right because they just traded for
James Harden.
Before that,
Do they see the
they're
Kings?
pretty similar.
Yeah, the Kings.
The Kings can make a little bit of sense.
I kind of thought about like the Kings and the Pacers in a way, even
they
though
see- do
they're
they see-
obviously
Do they see the Rockets?
connected.
Like a team that was not great, and then they added some guys and spent some money, and they were okay. Like maybe it's like
yeah,
the Knicks
I
last
think the
year,
Knicks
the
are like
Rockets this
legitimately
year.
pretty
the
good.
Knicks-
Yeah, maybe last year's Knicks. Because I
And
think
the
the
Knicks
Knicks are
have
good.
the
last year.
assets.
The Knicks are
too.
9-7 this year. It's not like they're out
Right.
of their mind.
Right.
In the chat,
Unbelievable.
Ace Moot says the Wizards see the Blazers.
Yeah.
Just comparing the two worst teams in the league.
I don't think there's I think the Wizards look in the mirror and there's nothing there.
Invisible
themselves.
cloak.
They're a vampire.
I mean, holy cow! I don't think there's a team. Oh,
It's bad.
Who do the Nuggets see?
Boston, maybe.
I think it's Boston.
because of continuity. They're like at the top, continuity. Boston just needs to win.
yeah.
All right, I want to
real
hear
hard.
about the Thunder and the Magic. Dang it, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I think when the Magic look in the mirror, they see the Oklahoma City Thunder. Team on the
100%.
rise. Lots of assets, although the Thunder have way more assets than Orlando. Some very promising young guys. The big differences are the Thunder have a first-team All-NBA, and in my opinion, the top 3 MVP candidate this season. The Magic do not have that, but the Magic have been really, really good. They've beaten Boston and Denver this week. 2 teams we just talked about. Like Orlando's been awesome, and I think whenever they look in the mirror on the other side, they see the Oklahoma City Thunder. And
like it.
everyone
thinking
loves
a
to
lot
talk
about
about the Chet Wemby matchup that we saw. It was so hyped on ESPN. I'm stoked for Chet Paulo.
Agreed.
We were robbed of that last year. I
Yes,
cannot wait
right?
to see it. I think it's going to be awesome.
Agreed. But it will be Dub, I think, guarding Paulo, which is like also
Shit,
super
last year
fun.
they had Lou Dort guard him.
Right. It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
Do not be biased in this answer. Who do you believe is more real between those 2 teams
The Thunder because of it.
this year? This year,
Yeah, Thunder because SGA.
you don't
Because
think the defense of Orlando is just bonkers good?
I'm sure it is.
Cole
but
Anthony, like I've never
Haven't they been one of the
a
worst
big-
defenses in the second half and like number 1 defense in the first half?
They're number like 1 or 2 overall, so I don't know how it breaks, but
Yeah, I was
pretty
gonna
damn
say
good.
they're
If you can be the worst defense in the first half and still be number 1 or 2 overall,
that's
you're
impressive.
doing something okay.
Yeah. No, they've
I
been
also like the
awesome.
Thunder's depth a little more, and I don't
I'm
quite.
going Thunder because of SGA.
Yeah,
Not because
I think
Jonathan
Orlando's
Isaac is
awesome.
not your favorite player.
I have nothing but respect for my president, Jonathan Isaac. Thank you very much.
That's a sounder.
that is.
All right, gentlemen, I think that'll do it for us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Uncontested. If this was your first time jumping on, thank you so much. We love having you guys in the chat. If you're listening to the podcast version, we appreciate that as well. Make sure to go drop that 5-star rating. We will be back Wednesday night for our typical Wednesday midweek breakdown. No post-game Tuesday after the Minnesota game. We will break that down Wednesday night along with other big thoughts. Thursday night, I believe it is JD and I on the post-game Thursday night.
Yep.
And then after that, we are back Sunday. No post-game after the Mavs game on Saturday night. We'll talk about that next Sunday, along with our typical weekly Sunday show. You guys have a great start to your week. We hope all of you guys had a great holiday if you're in the States. If you're outside of the States, hope you had a great week. We will see you again Wednesday night. Until then, as always, Thunder up.